Peekaboo indeed. Hello, everyone. This is I think going to be the third episode of Skyline. No, I not think it is the third episode of
Woo-hoo.
Skyline. I'll upload it literally right after we're done talking. And I'm joined by someone you might recognize from the Overwatch video if you were able to sit through that. I think he showed up at the very end of it. He's also in our review of Total Recall and in the first episode of Skyline, if you can catch him in the midst of all the other conversations that were happening at the time. He's Josh, and yeah, he's a good friend of
Yeah.
mine from my hometown, Illinois. Uh, and I mean, shoot, we've been friends. Arguably, we've been close friends since fourth, fifth grade, somewhere in there. I mean, all friendships, especially in youth, are often just by you know each other from school or church.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the very least, you've known each other that long, if not in passing when I was in first grade, and I think you came to a birthday party of
Yeah.
mine or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've brought him on here to pick his brain, but also as we are good friends to sort of ask him all sorts of questions, and maybe we'll just go on tangents about whatever. It should be a good time, I think. Um, but oh, I'm gonna throw my phone aside because that will be a distraction. Uh, I just heard it buzz, so I threw it to the side. I think a good place to start, just by the tradition of the big picture, um, which is sort of the parent show to this, the thing that existed before this, um,
Mhm.
which might be good to do. Is you've told me this before, but I guess just for audience's sake, you go. Wait, what college do you go to? It's
Maryville.
Maryville.
Yeah.
Um,
Maryville University in St. Louis.
and we've talked a lot about your major and your choice in major before, outside of any of this. And I'm not going to jump into that right now, but I am curious actually, because you know, I've talked about why I joined Knox, I'm sure, around you, but I don't think I've ever asked you why you chose Maryville. I don't know if there's a story behind it or it was just sort of a practical choice. But yeah, what's the story behind you picking Maryville? I don't think we ever talked about that.
Yeah, I don't think we have. Um, well, for me, I went to Maryville at first. I think what would it be? Fall 2017, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been that far
Um,
back, yeah.
and I went there for the cybersecurity program,
Mm-hmm.
and that's as far as I had gotten. Um, I had toured Greenville College like the week before,
Yeah.
and I got a very uh, I don't know. I got quite a sense of that campus and how it worked and what I don't know student life is there. I feel
Yeah.
like you pick up on the environment of where you go.
That's 100% true.
Uh,
It's just something about. I think it's probably just a human thing, is we can kind of pick up on the atmosphere of a place.
yeah, yeah. And at Greenville, I did not like it.
Mm.
Um,
Any particular reason you didn't like the atmosphere, or was that all very emotionally based, not something you could put into words?
um, a lot of it was feeling, but it was also that Greenville is uh, it seems like a decent place, but doesn't seem like nearly as nice of a place as Maryville, for example, is.
All right.
And also it seemed to be, I guess, more strewn together instead of like it was a coherent plan of putting together the college of like how different buildings were going to be laid out and the sort. Because
It,
I remember we had to go like down a couple blocks to get to a graphic design building because graphic design is, I mean, that and video game development is something that I was interested in at the time. And
yeah.
so, I was like, okay, well, let's check that out. and I mean, I think it's a good program, and
Hmm.
it's a cool program, but just with whatever else it was at Mary or at Greenville, it just kind of led me to know that I didn't want that,
Yeah, which
and I don't really know how to explain why, but I think, most people get that feeling.
yeah, and we've talked about like, and of course, anyone listening is like, "Oh, what have you talked about?" Like, you went from being focused on, like you were saying, like it wasn't quite computer science. It was
Yeah,
oh, it was
cybersecurity.
cybersecurity. Yeah, um, and along your path at Maryville, which I guess so you chose Maryville just sort of based off a feeling of like this is a good place.
Is a good place. The person who was the director of the program I was entering into,
Hmm.
cybersecurity, was extremely reputable in his field.
Mm.
Um, and the program there was, I want to say, 3 to 5 years old at most.
Oh wow.
And it was one that had seen, like, in those 3 to 5 years, more than 200% growth, right? So a lot
Wow.
more students were coming to Maryville for cybersecurity because of how well it was going.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's really cool. That's a good sign. This is a nice place.
Mhm.
And then also, strangely enough, I think some of what I liked about it is it seems to be much more liberal
Yeah.
than Marion, our hometown, which is not hard to
It's
do.
not the hardest thing to do. Yeah.
Um, but it seemed to be more like a mirror reflection of Marion being very conservative. Maryville is quite liberal,
Yeah.
and there have been some things that I've come to kind of be frustrated about because of that, but I still wanted to get, I guess, a more holistic experience before
Yeah.
I got too old.
No, and
You know,
that's admirable because not a lot of people would do that. I think a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I want to go to a place that is going to just 100% fit, what I think." Um, and
yeah,
you know, but I think that's really admirable. And what's kind of interesting about your story is you're saying like, the person was very reputable with cybersecurity and it was this new field and very excited for it. And then what was it? It was like a year or like a year and a half maybe, and you switched to exercise science.
yeah. It was at the end of my sophomore year,
Yeah, so 2 years.
and I ended up really not liking the director of the program,
Mm,
because I legitimately felt like I learned nothing in a lot of classes
wow.
where that were my higher level classes, my non-gen eds, where I
Hmm.
should definitely be learning things.
For sure.
So it was either, if I stay down this path, which I was gradually finding out that I'm not such a fan of cybersecurity.
Hmm.
If I stay down that path, then I feel like I will be unprepared for the actual field and maybe not happy. I did do a all the requirements for a minor in mobile app development, which was with a uh, Dr. Palmer, I believe,
Oh,
and he's a really laid back, cool guy. Really enjoyed his classes, um,
oh, nice.
but I mean, he's like crazy good at programming. He's done tons of stuff
Wait, so
for
so you have
tons
a minor in like app
in
creation?
app development,
Oh, that's
mobile app development. Yeah.
how did I not know that? That's so awesome. See,
Well, I don't
already,
I
yeah,
actually don't talk about it because I'm not sure if I still get it because I'm no longer in cybersecurity.
yeah. But I mean,
Because I know some of the classes for the minor were required in cybersecurity.
yeah.
I don't know if there are any paired classes in cybersecurity needed for the minor. And honestly, I don't really care if there are.
Oh,
Like,
fair.
if I can graduate with a minor, I'll do it. I will.
Yeah.
I will have that written out. Have that be an official thing. But I don't. I'm. It's not something I'm invested in really.
Well, it just sort of jumps to my mind because, and I'm sure we'll cut back to the story to your transition to exercise science. But what immediately crossed my mind with that minor is that like there are so many exercise apps out there, and that's not to say that's what you would end up
Mhm.
doing. But I mean, if we're just to go based off your major and potential minor, like that's
Yeah,
something within that.
totally. That's something I'm actually currently in a class, Exercise Science 353. It's called Virtual, I think, Fitness and Health,
Oh,
or maybe it's Virtual Training and Health. Basically, it's what does exercise science as a trainer look like in an online environment?
oh, that's that's so that is very interesting. Like I've been thinking about that a lot. Well, because of COVID, right? Like I've just been thinking about
Hmm.
like how technology changes so many facets of
Hmm.
our life because we've more than ever tied to it, you know,
Yeah.
or working through it. Tied to it makes it sound objectively negative, and it's not necessarily. It's just that we're very connected to more than ever.
It,
So that's really interesting.
yeah. And so the interview I did last week with somebody that didn't let me be available to do this last week
Mhm.
uh, was for that class, and it was talking about the person I interviewed. I asked about their time being a virtual trainer, which was not during COVID,
Yeah.
because they did it a number of years ago. But then they are the manager at a gym and were in the same position, was in the same position during COVID,
Yeah.
its breakout, and ever since. So I was able to interview her about virtual aspects of what it used to be like, of how it is now as a manager, and then also how COVID was impacting the gym. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Well, I guess it. We'll get back to your story, I guess, here in a bit. But I just want to bounce off that. Like, what ways has COVID affected the gym? Like,
Mm,
to go
yeah.
into maybe more detail, like personal trainers, do they just you know go on a video call and have them do stretches and body weight exercise kind of stuff, or what does that look like now with the
Well,
gym?
so the gym that she works for,
Hmm.
um, I mean, the hub.
Yeah, the hub.
Uh, they th- they are a community center,
Hmm.
right? So it's not your traditional gym with a bunch of personal trainers, or anything like that.
Yeah,
Though they do offer personal trainers, or at least the hub is a medium for people to get in contact with personal trainers.
yeah.
Ways that the hub has been impacted, though, um, is like normally they would run a football league over summer for youth,
Hmm.
and that didn't get to happen at all. Normally soon they'd be starting a basketball league, and that doesn't seem likely.
No.
Um, they are actually getting a lot of rentals from local teams to use the gym because the gyms that the teams would normally use are unavailable, still closed due to COVID.
Yeah.
Currently, there's somewhere around 500 either holds or membership cancellations
Mm.
for the hub. And um, I believe that before COVID broke out, the hub was somewhere between, I think he said 80, but either 80 to 100 workers in total.
Hmm.
But whenever they began to try to reopen during COVID,
Yeah.
they were down to like 30,
Oh wow.
um, which this that demographic may be of part-time workers. I'm not sure. I didn't, go
Yeah,
for specifics.
for sure.
Um,
But
but
either
they've
way, that's
gradually brought that back up to
mm,
closer to 80 now. But a lot of it was people who would be in my position, fitness attendants or like front desk workers, concession,
yeah.
lifeguards, all that kind of stuff. But then also, since childcare is not currently available at the hub, which
Hmm.
normally it would be, um, a lot of trainers aren't able to come do classes because they
Have to
have
watch the
kids
kids. Yeah.
they would normally drop off at childcare, but they can't, in addition to their kids only going to school for half days.
Yeah.
So they need childcare more than they used to, and they don't have any access to it. And then there was one other like big
Like
change
big change.
of all that. I don't remember.
I mean, I imagine turnout to the gym itself is lower. I think
Ooh,
you had already said that. It's just
yeah, yeah. Um, so sorry, I just remembered. I don't want to
yeah, go
forget.
for it. Yeah.
Two other things about it is silver sneakers. So like the elderly groups and classes
Oh yeah.
are not being offered. Obviously,
Yeah.
elderly are a high risk
Obviously.
category.
Yeah.
Um, group and on that point, group class numbers have greatly gone down
Yeah.
because both you people don't want to be in groups and people don't want to go out as much.
Hmm. Dang.
Excuse me.
So
And
that's
then
yeah.
one other positive for the hub was they were able to do a lot of renovations and like either repairs or upkeep
Yeah.
kind of stuff that they normally wouldn't be able to go all the way in depth with
Yeah.
or would have the time to even do.
They were able to go a bit further into like just all around renovations than like what they would usually have to do, which is probably like a bit at a time,
Yeah,
just to keep the facility up. You know.
yeah.
Um,
And like one of the big things that I noticed never going into the aquatic section of the hub
mhm.
is the pool. And I asked about that, and Chelsea responded that yeah, they drained the pool completely and did an acid wash on all the walls.
Oh wow,
So the walls are like no longer brown kind of thing. They now look clean again.
they're
So
not that completely clean again.
yeah,
All right. Well, that's certainly. I mean, it's like interesting the fact of like seeing how something's affected by COVID. But to go back to I guess your academic story. I mean, your life
yeah,
is
yeah.
more than just your academics, of course. But you ended up transitioning to exercise science from cybersecurity, which I think to many seems like a bizarre change in field,
Probably.
probably. Yeah. But I mean, me knowing you, it doesn't seem that bizarre, but I'm sure to the average listener it would seem weird.
Yeah. Well, it'd make more sense if people knew. I guess just my background of like
Yeah.
working out on my own, on my
Hmm.
own time kind of thing. Even though I haven't played sports like for real in a while.
In a long time. Like early high
Yeah.
school, right?
Uh, I still did shot put and
That's right.
discus
Track.
like senior year,
Yeah.
but yeah, I quit football after my sophomore year.
Oh yeah.
So,
But what were the series of events that led to like because we've talked about why you stopped doing cybersecurity. It just the director
mhm,
wasn't great. You were feeling like you weren't learning much and that you might not be happy doing it. What
mhm.
led you to decide that exercise science is the thing to do, the thing that would maybe lead to you being happier and maybe actually learn something?
Well, knew I wanted to stay in school, and go to school for
Yeah.
something. Um, and I really didn't know what that was. And I had heard of exercise science and talked to some people
Mhm.
that like I refer to as gym buddies, basically people I mainly see in the gym, or
Yeah.
at least did at the time, and pretty much became friends with through that relationship.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
one of them, Zach Helmkamp, said his name right, I think.
Mhm.
Uh, he talked to me. And he's like, "Yo, dude, you're in cybersecurity." He's like, "Nah, you seem like you definitely like exercise." Like he
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
talking to me about that. I was like, well, at the time, I was very reluctant to
yeah.
change fields. I didn't want to. I wanted to pretty much just muddle through it, and
Yeah,
then
because
get out.
it adds an extra year, and that's a big decision to make at the point you were at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and cybersecurity makes a lot more money too,
That
which
that is
Maryville
true.
isn't a cheap school.
Yeah.
It's a nicer school for sure.
Mm.
Um, a lot of which I am having to pay through, loans because I certainly don't have that money and my parents don't either.
Hmm.
So that's something that I'll, be working off moving forward. And I was perfectly fine with whenever I was in cybersecurity because starting salary for cybersecurity is somewhere between, like from most cybersecurity
I'm
positions, it's
guessing.
somewhere between 60 and 80,000
Yeah,
a
I was
year.
gonna say 70,000. Yeah,
So yeah, quite a bit.
yeah,
Meanwhile, like I think I could technically find numbers for you for exercise science, but there are so many different fields you can do with exercise science,
yeah,
which would make that hard. And I'm honestly still not sure exactly what I want to do with it, but I
yeah.
know I'm enjoying it right now, and I think it's really interesting. So I'll
I
find something.
I think yeah, I think you'll find something. If it's like there's something to that. I think I've heard once before. Like if you become disciplined in something, if you like find something and like become passionate about it, you'll find a way to make a living with it. Like
Yeah,
which is maybe a bit of an optimistic view of things, but I think at least in your situation, I think that's very feasible.
yeah,
Um,
for
yeah,
sure. Also, I don't think I'm gonna be all about virtual training because I've definitely in that class I was telling you about, I've
yeah,
definitely got a good glimpse of it, and doesn't really seem to be my thing because I do
yeah.
like in person, contact a lot.
Same
But
here. Like, I mentioned before we start recording that I'm going to be doing video essays. What I want to do is like looking at, and I'll probably talk to my dad a lot about it because he's involved in this. But like, camps and other activities that are having to be done virtually right now, and like
hmm
the effect of that. Because like, yeah,
yeah,
I'm definitely one of those people that's way big into in person stuff. I think we share that similarity. We prefer to be in person over like a phone call or whatever it may be. Um,
yeah,
like if we had to choose. But with COVID, it's definitely shown that like even in careers that I'm interested in, that may end up leading you may still end up having to not be in person, which is wild to think about. Um,
yeah.
so
And honestly, just now for me, starting to get scary about how long this will last. Like I knew that
yeah.
COVID, I've seen memes talking about like second week into COVID, and
Mhm.
they were saying like 4 more weeks of self-isolating and we should be good kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like even if everyone did that, that would still be too early. I
Yes.
know that,
Hmm.
but there's not a chance
No.
America's going to do that. Like I knew that it would not end
Mhm.
anywhere near, as early as that. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
did. But even if they did know it, I think plenty of people, including myself, didn't want to actually say it, for fear it would actualize
Yeah.
by that, which is, silly but common to do.
Yeah. And to keep it, I guess, out of a political lens, but in a personal lens, like I think, like you were saying, we all didn't really expect it. And by we all, I mean like my immediate circle of people I know. There's probably people out there who knew or speculated that it would last this long, but you know,
Mhm.
I certainly didn't think so. And you're right. Like Knox is saying the first half of winter term will be all remote because it's supposed to get like significantly, and it's already worse than it's been. We've had some record breaking weeks recently.
Oh,
Um,
really?
just well, like in our country, we've had like record
Oh, okay,
breaking
okay.
cases. Yeah. Um, but it's like, and it's supposed to get worse in winter.
Yeah.
Apparently, and this is the current what I've heard, and I'm not an expert or anything or educated too much on it, but it's like apparently depending on where you live, because every state's done
Mhm.
it differently and has different charted paths. Like we're looking at like spring to summer when this will finally end, which is like
Yeah.
really does not sound grand. Um,
No, not
it'll
quite.
that'll make it in that'll make it an entire year that this would have happened.
Hmm.
Just about. Um, which is crazy to think about. But
Yeah.
and it's definitely been hard, I think, especially for us, just personally. And we don't have to go into this too much, but like we've been looking at like this last summer was looking like one of the last potentially normal summers we could have together, like as our group of
Yeah.
friends in Marion. And COVID just came in like a hurricane and said no, because
Yeah.
Andrew's going off to Air Force like in the next couple months, and
Hmm.
you know, and while 5th year is an option for me, theoretically speaking, this would be my last year of college, and then I'd be
Jeez.
doing who knows what afterward. So it's
Hmm.
just it came at such a and I'm not. I guess I don't mean to complain too much because there are people who have it significantly worse than like any of us
Yeah.
from all this. But just from speaking from a strictly personal, anecdotal, I guess standpoint, like it really put a like a damper and really that last summer, like all the camps that were canceled, all the like rocket, like I know Will had a lot of stuff canceled because of it. I know,
Hmm.
you know, like it was just so. I'm looking back on it. I know that's going to be a thing. Like 20 years from now, I'll be like, gosh, the things like there are positive things that have come out of it, but also like the things we missed, um,
Definitely.
and definitely think about that. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's quite unfortunate for
mhm.
us and people in our, I guess, time of life,
Yeah,
because this is. I mean, we are college age kids, later into college. This is
mhm.
more the time of, I guess, what would normally be like freedom or self exploration
Yeah,
kind of thing. Even for people younger than us,
yeah,
uh, they're gonna feel the same effects, and everyone's going to feel effects of it. Everyone has,
yeah,
but it's just hard to.
mhm.
I don't know. It's hard to talk about it specifically to us whenever we can only see our own. I don't know,
Our own
out view
perspective,
from it.
yeah,
Yeah,
which is true
but
of a lot of things. Like, everyone, and I feel like in recent time we've at least touched on this topic, at least talking to each other. Like everyone kind of has their own like perceptions, not just like what they focus on or what their schemas, to use a really crazy psych term, on different things.
hmm,
People also just have like different emotional reactions to stuff and like how they can like some people like I think I might fall in this category, but also like I like this. I'm concerned that I'm starting to fall back into drinking soda because like at first during quarantine it's like yeah I'll treat myself to soda time to time, and I think it said as much, but now it's starting to
hmm,
become a little more frequent, and I'm a little concerned about it because so like but that's like one of the biggest things I've noticed in terms of like maybe unhealthy trends with all of this,
hmm,
but um everyone can handles it differently. And some people, like myself, have gotten some positive things out of it. Like I'm learning to play guitar, stuff like that that maybe wouldn't have
yeah,
done outside of that circumstance. But
yeah,
everyone reacts differently to it, and
that's for sure.
it's a time. It's a time. Um, but we'll get through it, and and this is something we talk about a lot. Maybe it's not for a podcast or anything, but like even though we've missed out on a and missed out's a big word. We still, hanged out and did things that summer. But,
Hmm.
you know, um like the things that pop into my mind was we still got together for July 4th, and also you guys were super nice to me and did that whole birthday party for me, which was very nice. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, like not a lot of people have friends who'd be willing to do that for them, and
Hmm.
so very appreciative for that. And so, but I guess what I'm saying is like, my hope is that we'll look back and go, man, that summer, we missed out, but that we won't go. That was our last chance to like, hang out and do stuff. My hope is that we can still do that. Um,
Yeah,
so, which I think, so long as um, Andrew stays safe, as safe as he can in the Air Force, and um, and I actually, reach out the amount I should, because it's no secret. I think even to those who probably have listened to any of like big picture and stuff that I do struggle with, like taking that foot forward, which people like you and Andrew don't struggle with that like much at all. At least not from an outside perspective of just, hey, we're doing a thing, let's do it. Um, so, but
Yeah.
I'm rambling now, which I guess is part of why I even think to do a podcast because I can fill the time. But um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not a
So
bad thing for a podcast.
yeah, not at all. But yeah, I mean, speaking of, and I don't know how much I've talked to you about this, but like, and this is like a very stereotypical like parent question almost, kind of like where I know you don't have an idea of like a job or something necessarily, but like
Hmm.
what are your sort of thoughts on like a post college Josh, like general thoughts on like a kind of place you'd maybe like to live, sort of like things outside your job you'd want to be doing. Because I think we talked once in a hot tub about like trying to live close to each other, and I think we had mentioned like
Hmm.
Colorado or like what was like California. I don't know if we want to be in
Uh,
California right now,
yeah.
with all the fires going on, but I
I
think
think anytime the conversation came up, it largely was like we all just looked at Will, and he's like, rockets only are in certain places.
yep.
So I know he wants to move south to like Florida, which would be the death of me. It
Yeah.
sounds horrible.
Mhm.
Um,
You know,
but
close to each
either
other can be
that,
like a 7 hour drive. We can, as long as we're
yeah,
within like a
yeah,
day's drive, I'd be content with that.
yeah, that'd be good. But yeah, for me, I don't know. Um, I guess I don't know where I would, like what environment kind of thing I would want to live. I
Hmm.
like cool but not cold. Like I'm not an Eskimo, I guess. I am not accustomed to living in freezing cold, and I
Hmm.
like to be cool because I'm generally hot and like, sweating most of the days. So being in a cool place sounds nice, but beyond that, I don't know. Somewhere, I don't know, quaint would be awesome. Safe
Mm.
and peaceful. Um, hmm.
Mm.
Outside of that stuff, though, I mean, I've talked to you several times. Faith and I talked on it a number of times about like
Yeah.
marriage being a
Hmm.
thing that would happen after school.
And our
You know,
group of friends have always posited that you'll probably be the first married out of all of us. You know.
yeah,
Um,
which is weird to think about.
yeah. I mean, knock on wood, everything continues to go well within faith, of course. Um,
Yeah,
but like, yeah, I think we think that that'll happen. Um,
yeah,
so, um, but that's crazy to think about too. Is that like not only are you having to think and worry about like jobs and like places to live, but you're also going to be thinking about this other person. Which is
hmm,
crazy to think about because it's hard enough to worry about one person.
yep.
Um, you know.
That's part of the
Josh is just
deal,
like,
though.
yep, that's part of the deal. Yeah. Um, I a big part of that is that. And yeah, it's just crazy to think about where each of us will be. Because I mean, for Pete's sake, like I look back on like us in like late high school, and that feels
Hmm.
so far ago, and things are different, much different than they were then, as they are now.
Hmm.
You know, and
Yep.
it's crazy to think how that will progress. And it's always hard to say, if things are better or worse. Because maybe sometimes things just change. It
Hmm.
it's sometimes hard to know. Because it's not like we're you know God or anything, right? We can't know for sure, like whether or not the trajectory is great or not. Um,
Hmm.
but maybe sometimes we can have that feeling, like when you visited Greenville, and we're like, nah.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but I feel, if we were talking about feelings, I feel that me, you, Will, Andrew, you know, we'll be in each other's lives one way or another, um, for in the years to come. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, that it's definitely not gonna. My hope is that like we'll have like yearly things, and also just like we'll occasionally just be like, hey, I'm free, and we'll probably be traveling through this area or something, or like yeah, stuff like that. Like if you're traveling through an area, stop by, say hi, like that kind of thing. Like it'd be
Mhm.
great for us to keep an eye on that. But I also think like July 4th, maybe even New Year's, like finding times we could gather in some regard,
Yeah.
um, and catch up and do all those fun things.
Yeah. Kind of along that vein, I think we were eating outside of Backyard Burger at one point over
Yeah.
summer. I think it was Andrew, Faith, Will, and myself.
Mm.
And I don't, I don't remember, what all was being said or the topic specifically, but Will, slightly off topic, just said like, "Oh, I know that like you guys will all be uncles." I was like,
Mm.
"Cool." And whenever we were there, I pointed out that he said that with Faith also present, so I was messing with him about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like, huh,
Hmm. Yeah. Because like
cool thought.
it is definitely a cool thought, and I mean for Pete's sake, like sure we all have extended family and stuff, but that'd be great if we could like manage that to like um I don't know.
If we could actually live like,
Yeah.
yeah, uncles.
Yeah, like as if they were uncles. Yeah. Like um like we've never I remember the last time any of us have like bought a gift for another person. Like we've definitely done cards and stuff, and we've definitely
Hmm.
spent money on each other, like for meals or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, you know, I the amount of money I spent on D&D, that's a good amount. To be fair, not entirely a selfless for friends thing, of course, um,
yeah,
but maybe if we start to actually earn a, you know, enough to get by and have some to spare, it might be nice to be able to like do Christmas gift things, even if
yeah.
they're silly. It could be nice to do that. Um,
I agree.
uh, but that's the crazy thing for people our age, like back to technology too. Like back in the day, you'd have to write each other letters to like stay in touch, which I can't,
Hmm.
you know, I struggle enough keeping in contact with all the ways I can keep in contact, you know?
Hmm.
I can't
Yeah,
imagine just me, my personality and who I am, how I'd be in that. Um,
yeah,
but we were able to communicate so easily, um, with the technology we have. Um, so definitely hope that we're able to stay in touch, and um, you know all of
yeah.
that sort of thing. But I guess to get away from musing on this, which is I think important and good. Um, it's a lot of speculation on the future, which is kind of hard to manage and to know. Um, I think we've said, like the goal is to be able to be in each other's lives, and like Will said, like if we could be at that like uncle point, gosh, I'd love to be uncle to like your kid or like Will's
Yeah,
kid.
that'd
Right?
be
That'd
pretty
be
cool. Yeah.
amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
it'd be great. And be able to like get together, like I don't know, we probably wouldn't get together to watch a sports game. Maybe we'd get together to watch like if like Critical Role is still doing a thing. I don't know.
I was gonna
But
say,
we'd get
even
together
then,
to watch.
I think Andrew's probably the only one who watches any sports, and that's limited. So,
Yeah. You know. But we could find excuses, whatever our excuse ends up being to visit each other or whatever. Um
yeah.
but sort of almost back this is the last question I think I'm gonna directly ask about like your academic related things. In
Mhm.
terms of like exercise science, what has been the most interesting aspect of it to you? Like when you learn about this aspect of exercise science, like you get sort of excited and pumped about it. Like what is that for you? What's the
Hmm.
part of it you really enjoy?
Well, that seems like quite a packed question,
It
honestly.
is it is a bit. Like, I don't think I'd be able to answer it. Well, actually, I could if I
Hmm.
was a bit psyched, but that's because 'cause I'm doing senior research. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you may not have an answer right now. Um,
Well, it's yeah, definitely like different aspects
mhm,
to, I guess, that answer, or what would be an attempt at that answer.
yeah,
Um, what really gets me pumped about my major? I know from personal experience
mhm,
with, you could call it training, but it's very informal
yeah,
with people. Um, which, and I mean, whenever I was doing this, I'd always tell you and Andrew, like, I'm interested in this. I'm learning about it.
mhm,
Remember, take what I say as an advisement instead of like what you should do.
yeah,
Always remember, like, until I'm certified, I'm not certified,
yeah,
right?
100%.
Like, I'm not a professional. I don't claim to be that, but I can
Mhm,
try to help
yeah.
you reach a goal or teach you things.
No, you've been amazingly
Um,
helpful just in general exercise advice. So
well, that's good to hear.
I've even been a mouthpiece for your advice to other people. I've like been
Mm,
like, I have a friend who does exercise science, and he told me this. So here's this. So
that's really cool. Also, slightly concerning
yeah,
because then I'm like, wait, what if I said something wrong?
yeah. The thing that pops in mind is I advise someone to like do. Always forget the term, but like active stretches before workout, and then hold stretches
Dynamic
after.
stretching.
Dynamic, yeah.
Hmm.
That's what I told him.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I don't think it's
yeah.
anything too harmful that
Okay,
the
okay.
advice that was given. Um,
All right. So
what
for
gets you
that
pumped? Yeah.
question, it's just in my personal time, my very limited experience, but also understanding how I am with people I'm around and relationships.
Yeah.
I like to help people. I want to help
Mhm.
people reach their goals, or become better, to see to help them reach the change that they want and to see it
Mm.
along its way. I know that's something that I definitely want to have and experience, even if that's not like the primary thing I'm doing for a job.
Yeah.
Even then,
It would be
like, it may be more of a side profession where
yeah.
I could be a strength coach for either like a company contracted to work with the army,
Hmm.
or a college, or some group with athletes or people who need to perform physically. But
Yeah.
then on the side, I have a longer lasting relationship with a person and help them reach goals over time. Because that's really cool to see.
And exercise is so unique in that it's one of those things that you can actually physically see progress with that. Because like in my field of like psychology, you don't always physically see. Very rarely do you physically see the changes.
Yeah,
Not
seems like it's
it's
much more obscure.
yeah. It's more like how are you feeling? What's going on mentally. Um,
Yeah.
which is
Nah.
much broader.
So I was just gonna say, for exercise science, there's something called, well, it's not exercise science specifically. I think it's more behavioral change,
Yeah.
which exercise science largely involves
Hmm.
talking about behavioral change, because it doesn't matter what you do, what you train, the science you have to back yourself up,
Yeah.
if you can't get people motivated, right? That's a lot of it. Within that is this kind of goal called the SMART goal, which it's an acronym. I think it's specific, measurable, which is why I'm mentioning it, achievable, relatable, and timely. And the second one, the M, measurable. That
Yeah.
means that your goal can be measured, that you can actually prove that you've
That you've
reached your
reached
goal.
that goal.
If it's losing weight, benching a certain weight, I don't know, losing inches around your waist, whatever it is, like, you can measure it. you can
Mm.
prove that things are different than they were, which is, like you said, awesome about exercise science
Yeah.
because it's not obscure. It's not something that is very, or it's not something that
Hmm.
can be subjective. Only
Yeah.
if you very heavily estimate your measurements, in which case they're not real measurements. Um,
Mm.
yeah, that I mean that just began to goofy.
Yeah.
And that's one nice thing. And so like you can actually help someone develop a smart goal and then help them reach the goal,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
I'm already imagining an episode of Skyline that could be really fun, which is just like get you and me and maybe like another person or two, and just like
Hmm.
have the whole podcast just be making an exercise plan, just sitting down and doing that. I think that'd be really fun, and that might be
That
an after you graduate thing, or maybe when you just feel more like you could, because
yeah
you've been taking classes where you do that. So
yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean, that would definitely be cool. That would be fun to do.
yeah,
Like even now, that would be fun to
yeah.
do.
Like even just
I,
people
I
you don't even know, and you can just like, what's your goals? Like, what, things like that, and then boom.
yeah.
Um,
I feel like right now I'd still like if you ask me to do it, I'd totally do it,
yeah.
and I would be excited about it. Maybe a little nervous because I don't want to like mess someone up.
Oh, for sure.
Um, I don't think I would because I don't know. The consistency of sticking to exercise programs is
Mhm.
extremely low, anyways, just like inherently.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, it is.
wouldn't be so worried about that. But then, like
Mhm.
after I were to graduate, especially if I had been like busy
Mhm.
doing that kind of stuff, even if it's just exercise programming for a couple of years, yeah, I think that that would be very different than what it would be now. Just because I would
Have that
know so
experience.
much more and be so much
Mhm.
more fluid in my knowledge of exercise science,
Oh, for sure.
performance, psychology, nutrition, all those things.
All the aspects of exercise science, the broad sort of this is what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
which is nuts.
Um,
No, well, I'm already thinking. Apparently, the Knox gym is open, and I am
mhm,
hoping to go because like
mhm.
I think a big issue I'm having right now is I don't know, it's just exercising in my dorm room isn't that great. Like it feels different than exercising because I would exercise in my bedroom at home, but for some
Mhm.
reason it feels different here. There could be all sorts of reasons why.
I
Um,
mean, if it's your only option, or if it has been,
yeah,
that would at the very least make it feel different because then you no longer feel like you're making a choice. You're
yeah.
only left to that one option.
So I think I'm wanting to schedule a time in my day where I just go to the gym. Um,
Hmm.
and what I could do is I could like take a little video of the equipment there and stuff, and then sit
Hmm.
down with you and be like, here's what I have to like work with.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely, man.
and then
I'd love to do that.
yeah, and then
I'm
just
in
set
a
up a
class
goal.
right now called programming, and I'm really enjoying, like, basically on a weekly basis, I reevaluate what I'm doing myself, and
Mm,
I'm like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I did last week.
yeah,
Thoughts that what worked well last week. What could I change? What's something else I want to involve in a program? All that stuff.
for sure.
Um, and
That'd be
I mean,
good.
I'm really enjoying that class right now, so I'd totally be down to do that.
And I already have because I was saying earlier like goals because you were saying like measurable goals, and I don't think I've really ever had a, and I'm sure you've gathered this maybe in our. I've never had like a measurable goal. It's
Hmm.
always just been I want to be healthy and I want to look good, and that's not like a
Hmm.
measurable goal.
Yeah,
It's very abstract. But if I were to come up, I was thinking, I was like, oh, and I promise I was paying attention. Uh, but I was also
you get.
thinking um, that like just being able to do like a couple pull-ups because I've never been able to like successfully do
Hmm.
a series of pull-ups. Like not even a
Yep,
lot, just like a couple
yep.
would be a great goal, I think. Um,
We can certainly talk about this in general more and
yeah.
that specific goal because I am now at the point, being a 278 as of this morning pound person, I am
Mm.
able to do multiple pull-ups,
Oh yeah.
which I really wasn't sure I was going to be able to do for years.
Wow.
Um, I mean, it's pretty. Sounds weird to say. It's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for what I did, it just takes time. But
Yeah.
I can tell you more about that. I am concerned about not being able to finish your questions because of time, so I want to get to them or stay on them.
Oh, I don't have like if you could see my paper, it's not like questions. It's like general topics, and plus, this is going to be like the only thing we do. I'm sure I'll have you on many more times, and it'll be maybe less interview based and more topic based too, maybe. But I'm
That's
just
fair.
so used to doing interviews from the big picture that that's just where my mind
Uh,
goes to.
yeah,
But like I
I think
yeah,
really, I'm sorry. What I was trying to say is like I want to continue to answer the question that I'm trying to answer now, or
which
was.
I genuinely forget what that was. What was that?
What gets me excited
What gets you excited
about my
about
major? Yeah.
well,
And so
I
far, all I've said is just that in my own time, I like to,
help people.
help people reach their goals.
Oh, for sure.
And
There's definitely more to it, I imagine.
yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, so sorry, but like I just wanted to make sure to be able to address those
No,
at
for
least
sure.
like in the
Thank
same
you
episode.
for remembering that.
Finish
Yeah,
the question.
for sure.
Um, so one that I started to touch on is the programming.
Yeah.
How I was talking about how I've really been enjoying that. What I've learned just in the past, like, 8 weeks this semester so far,
Mhm.
is that in a program, you should always be able to explain why you chose what you put in there.
Mm.
Explain why you have something in a program and its relevance. And I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. For me, it's easy because I'm not an athlete. I'm not, I don't have any specific uh, goals or requisites I need to meet for doing things.
Yeah.
It's more just like, what do I want to work on? What do I want to get to?
Hmm.
And how do I want to go about that? How can I go about that? And right now I'm just in one programming class, and there's a higher level programming class. It's level 400
Oh, wow.
version of the class I'm in right now. And the class I'm in right now is like I'm feverishly taking notes and asking questions the entire time during. It's
Mm.
my favorite class right now. So that one's really cool. And
Yeah.
then for the rest of it is in a less personal manner, less one-on-one relationship is I want to train people at large to be smarter, safer, healthier.
Mm.
Because one thing that don't I didn't think I shared with most other people in my major is I want to have a more physical therapy aspect of my training in
Yeah.
the sense that I want to prevent, or the proper word is mitigate injury,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I've been injured so many times. You
Yeah.
I mean, fractured arm, torn a shoulder labrum, uh,
Yeah.
2 or 3 official concussions in high school. I had
Hmm.
a torn MCL. I've been in boots for both my ankles for months at a time.
Yeah.
Um, I, I think I bruised or something my tailbone.
Hmm.
All this different stuff that made it really hard to stay active during high school. I want to educate the people I'm working with to specifically not have those problems.
To exercise healthily, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And something that ties into why I like the programming class so much is the school strength coach and trainer came in and substitute taught
oh,
for that class one time. And one of his big points of that day is that like everything he programs for, all the why is for health.
mm,
Like he trains athletes in season or out of season to be healthy. And then once you can establish that they are healthy and they're staying healthy, then you can work on them getting stronger,
mm,
Or if like they have an injured leg, well, you can still train the other leg
yeah.
because the central nervous system will then increase the rate that the injured leg improves at once it's better,
Yeah.
which is really cool. But you can also train endurance to an extent. You can train, uh, a lot of that other leg. You can train core. You can train upper body strength.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to it. But I want to be able to help people mitigate injury that way, which the term mitigate is used instead of prevent because injuries will happen.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
And it really
So
depends
you
on
don't want to say that you will prevent injuries. You want to say that you will mitigate injuries.
because also like the definition of injury is can be kind of broad to at least I'm sure like
Yeah.
in the field it has a very clear definition, but like
Hmm.
personally it's like, is a sore, is a bit of sore or not even, not even the technical term sore. 'Cause I know we had this conversation before, but like
Hmm. Hmm.
the everyday person's thing of like, ah, I'm a little sore. Is that an
Yeah.
injury? Or my foot hurts a little bit. Is that an injury? It's like there's
Yeah.
different definitions of like what that is.
For
Um,
sure.
to the everyday person.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, everything you said, just as someone who knows you, and I think knows you well. I mean, we've been good friends for a while. Um,
Yeah.
that makes so much sense to me because yeah, like every time we've worked out together, and I've done anything that like could warrant potential injury, you've been so good. And I know you sometimes are worried that it may be annoying or like whatever, but like, I
For
mean,
sure.
so thankful that like even now, like do something and I'll just be thinking like, all right, make sure your knees, don't go beyond your toes and make sure your butt's out, all that stuff. Make sure you aren't
Hmm.
lifting with your back, even
Yeah.
simple stuff like that.
That's cool to hear about.
Yeah.
Um, and if I can like make a side tangent real
Yeah,
quick,
for sure.
something that I still struggle to accept, kind of, is
Yeah.
that your knees past your toes is not inherently a biomechanical negative.
Mm.
That is not something that is actually guaranteed bad,
Yeah.
which I am not a fan of.
Yeah.
But at least the way that the director of my program explains it, and he's the teacher for the programming class, so
Ye-
that's also cool.
Oh wow.
He said basically the don't bring your knees past your toes was developed for beginners and
Mm.
people with bad form for squatting. People, like
That
people
makes
who
sense.
haven't developed the strength, the stability, yada yada,
Yeah.
to do movements properly, which, depending on your body portions, may involve your knees going past your toes, is not a good thing,
Yeah.
right?
That makes a lot of sense.
So
Because there's,
that's it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's just a side thing I wanted to say. Like that's something like I
Mm.
still don't like. I don't want my knees going past my toes. I'm also. Uh, I guess I should have added to my list of injuries is I have patellofemoral syndrome in at least my right knee. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I have tendinopathy in both my knees, which is like patellar tendonitis,
Mm.
um, which I'm normally able to avoid because I'm trying to train smarter than ever for my legs.
Yeah.
Because for the past almost year and a half, starting like 2 months ago, I was practically unable to squat and run because my knees were in such bad shape. And that's just because like I was not armed with the knowledge of good and bad I was doing and how to recover. And
Mm.
so that's something I've been working on a lot in the past year, learning a lot about, and I'm getting there. I've been squatting again, and I actually started running earlier this semester again, which is a big goal, which was a big goal for me, and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure how long it was going to take.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So to kind of go back just to, like, so the things that you're really passionate or like, get pumped about with exercise science are, of course, the helping people element, right?
Hmm.
Um, but also just the nature of creating the creation of like a program and the creation of, you know, creating something with a goal and to help people with that, and then also mitigating injury is something you're really big into. Um,
Yeah, and teaching people
yeah,
how to do that. So even whenever I'm not around, like, people moving forward
that's
in
right.
life, I'm sure that there would be some business people, business majors, hardcore business men and
Yeah.
women that would say, like, you shouldn't teach people this. You shouldn't teach it. You should just give them what they need so that they always have to come to you. Well, we're talking about people's health.
Yeah.
Like that's something in exercise science that you don't do.
Yeah.
You don't like with chiropractors, you should not be going to a chiropractor for years on end. You shouldn't be going to a like for
Yeah.
consistent appointments. You shouldn't be going to a chiropractor for probably even 6 months for most problems
Mhm.
with
There
a consistent visit. Because if so, all they're doing is probably popping your back. Maybe they're, if you're going for a massage, that's kind of understandable.
Yeah,
Massages are nice,
they are
they're
nice.
relaxing. But it's like there are some borderline illegitimate chiropractors, and it's not that they don't do practices properly, but they just they're there for money, which is kind of a shame to see.
Not to
And
be
good,
obligatorily anti, not to be, obligatory, like, capitalism bad, but, like, certainly there are things that, like you're sort of mentioning, where, like, profit should not be the priority of it. And you're
mm,
saying, like, health, like, helping people be healthy should definitely not be one of those where
yeah,
you're getting them this cycle where they have to come to you, you
yeah,
know, and all of
yeah.
that.
And a lot of people will actually want to keep coming to
Yeah,
you or someone else
because of that
because even if
personal, yeah.
you've taught them what you can about that level,
Mhm.
there's a personal relationship that that knowledge came from, and then also self-doubt or the concern that they don't know enough,
Yeah,
so they will want to keep coming to you, you know.
sure.
But like, you shouldn't try to not teach people
Mm,
whenever it concerns their health. That is ethically illegitimate, right?
yeah,
You don't
it's
want to withhold information that can keep people from being healthy.
100%. I think that's I don't know. I've definitely known you for a while, but, like, everything you say, I hear it and I go, that's like the definition of, like, a not like a I don't want to say just good person, but, like, yeah, that's like very a considerate thing to consider, a thing to really focus on, helping people, but not only to, like, help people and have them keep coming, but to give them all the information to help
Yeah,
them be healthy and not holding anything back.
yeah. And so like I'm not saying that in the case necessarily where like for each client, if you like say you're giving them a program for
Yeah,
them to reach their goals. I'm not saying that you go through each step and you explain all the reasoning to it. Most people don't want that.
yeah,
But if they have questions, you should be very open and giving with the
yes,
answers. I mean, that's we've talked about in again referencing that virtual fitness and health class.
yeah,
We've talked about virtual trainers and like either group trainers or personal trainers who do do that job professionally. And we had to read several blogs by them, which I know blogs are they're not journal articles, but
yeah,
it's very hard to find journal articles talking about people's experiences in online training
hmm,
and how to make a profitable business with doing that,
yeah,
right? So in those, it's that they said largely what I'm saying now, which not that they're repeating me, but more I'm repeating them. I'm
yeah,
understanding the wisdom that they put on those blogs for
yeah,
other people to understand as well. Because even if you've trained someone as much as you can and you have taken them as far
mhm,
as you can go, all the way to their goal or maybe multiple goals, you might lose that client, and that will probably be a sad moment that you will no longer be having that interaction that you've built up over however long of the time,
yeah,
but you'll also lose the revenue.
mm,
But if you were a good trainer, you know, like you will likely get a lot of word of mouth referrals.
yes, yeah,
If people go to a chiropractor, right?
yeah,
Just I don't know, chiropractor because I can relate to this personally,
yeah,
and they help you out with a lot of stuff. You're more likely to recommend them,
yeah,
right? Like they help you feel better, and you now no longer have to either like go to the chiropractor a lot, or you don't feel like you're in pain as much, or whatever was the problem is no longer a problem,
yeah,
especially if they like taught you how to avoid it.
mhm.
right? So it's very much that. It's that you may lose a relationship by teaching someone and helping them reach their goal and financial income, but you can hope slash assume that word of mouth
Yeah.
will then help you because even if they're no longer coming to you, they will tell others.
Like, yeah, and that's sort of how it goes. Like, there will always be more people who want help working out. There will always be more
Yeah.
people who need their back to be like
Oh
popped
yeah.
into place and told how to not have to have it be popped back into place again. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Adjustments are certainly important.
Oh yeah,
By no means am I saying they're not. Same thing with chiropractors. Chiropractors are very important. They're very smart.
yeah,
I'm actually currently living with somebody working to be a chiropractor, and he's taking I don't, like 11 classes this
yeah,
trimester, and it's insane the amount of stuff he's learning. But it's really cool because he and I can have conversations about stuff. His knowledge is more specific to chiropractic, and mine is more to exercise and
yeah.
the science related to it. So like we can have cool dynamic conversations about
Mhm.
that stuff.
And that's also something like I know this has been a lot more interviewy, but I'm sure and the thing is like this is a weekly show, and hope if I start doing it weekly, I'll be able to cycle through guests a lot quicker and easier. Um,
Hmm.
Something I think would be really fun, and I'd probably want to do some like research beforehand. Maybe it's just like sit down and have like a topics like we can both compile topics based on exercise science and psychology and just have a field day
Yeah,
talking about different stuff.
I
That could be
definitely
really
have to
fun.
break out my notes, but that could be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely be a thing where beforehand we just like make a document or something with like
Hmm.
articles and just different topics we'd want to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, that could be fun. I don't know. I'm already thinking of all sorts of things we could do together. In
Oh,
these
I
that could
like
be
it.
really fun.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I already my goal we were talking beforehand like my goal with this show, and I've said it so many times and other things, it's just this is an excuse to talk to my friends and on more like one-on-one and
Hmm.
like be able to have like these sort of conversations that don't always naturally come out of
Yeah.
nowhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
because usually when you're hanging out with people it's like maybe you're playing a game or you're eating food and you know
There's something else going on.
yeah, there's usually something else. It's really nice to kind of have the focus be on the conversation itself.
Hmm.
um and I already feel like, even though I've known you for so long, even just in this little podcast episode, it's like, oh, I get to hear Josh talk about these things and have a better grasp of like what he's doing. Like you have maybe enough for a minor in like app development. Like what's that?
And Spanish.
And Spanish. I think I did know that. I think because I think we
Yeah.
had talked.
Okay.
We were at like a
I was.
restaurant once, and you had talked about that.
Yeah. I took all the classes like within the first year or year and a half for that
Yeah,
because I showed the results that I
mm,
got from the Apple. Remember that Senora Haynes
yeah.
had us take our senior year,
Did not do
and
as well as you did on that. I think.
well, nobody at Maryville had ever heard of it,
Yeah.
and the way Senora Haynes said it is like if they hadn't heard of it, they're not a good school counselor. And I was like, okay, I don't know what to do in this situation. I'm not going to bring that point up though.
Yeah.
But basically, I showed that to my counselor and the Spanish teacher, and they figured it out and put me on like an advanced course basically. So
Nice.
worked out well.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Though I do wish I had some Spanish classes, even if it was just completely verbal, because it's really hard to just get the motivation to practice it by
to
yourself.
practice it by yourself.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I break out, Duolingo or something, but
Uh
even then, it's not quite the same.
oh, for sure. Some you had mentioned learning Spanish, and I had a thought, and then I think it's escaped me. So that must mean it was meant to be escaped. It was meant to get away. Um, but I mean, yeah, like, um, oh, I remember what it was now. Like, it's no secret that I, as a person, I have a tendency to like talk about what I'm doing a lot. I
Hmm.
share. Um, and so this is almost back to what I was talking about earlier, but like, yeah, I, it's great to be able to like actually be not forced, but like, have a format where it's like, I'm gonna listen. Gosh darn it, like,
Yeah.
it's almost like a structured thing I've set up for myself to be like, all right, Matt, you're gonna do this thing. We're gonna listen, um, which is fun. And you know, with you, with your minor in Spanish and all of that, like, this is now leaping to another thing. Is like, I don't remember much anything about Spanish, despite 4 years of high school Spanish and a couple terms of college. And I think
Hmm.
that's a shame. But it's just so
Yeah,
hard, like you were saying, to keep up with it in a lot of ways too.
it is. I mean, like whenever you're in class every day, especially in high school, and every day,
Yeah.
practicing foreign language, and especially whenever you're in, I would say, such a positive environment that Senora Haynes fostered,
Oh yeah.
where Spanish was also like such a primary, I I would say, I don't know, even just essence, part of the environment that we were in.
Yeah.
Since most of what we did was talk in Spanish, like we would only talk in English if we had questions of how to say something in Spanish, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Like that was your goal. Yeah, it's so much easier to practice it then, because it's also a
Yeah.
social thing.
Man. Yeah. Senora Haynes, what a great teacher.
Yeah,
I don't even know if she'd recognize me right now. She'd be like, "Whoa, Matt."
fair. You have definitely, at
Changed
the very
physically.
least, you're growing out the hair,
Oh yeah.
which I do approve of.
Yes, I did trim my beard recently.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Someone just recommended it, and I heard it, and I went, yeah, if I'm growing out the head hair, maybe I should hold off growing out the beard hair all the way until, you know,
You should control at least one.
yeah, I should control at least one, and I thought that was a fair point.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, I can get into a ponytail now, which is fun.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I feel as if we've reached a poignant, poignant point about kind of. I feel like if we were to go to another topic at this point, we'd probably be on for another like 30 minutes, probably.
Yeah,
Um,
which ashamedly I can't do because I
yeah,
got another meeting here
yeah,
in five
and
minutes or
I
something.
gotta
But
like eat and then do like schoolwork I procrastinated. So, but thank you so much for doing this, and I want to do some with Andrew and Will, despite their usually poor mic quality over Discord and
well,
things like that. But I want to do it with
yeah.
them too, um, and continue to do this sort of stuff. And apparently we have a Minecraft Realms, which I really want to do. It's just I was like, oh yeah, Monday I'll be able to do it, and then Mondays come around, and I'm like, well, I've got all this work I haven't done. I got to do. Maybe if I get it done before like 10, which is feasible, I can hop on
Mm,
Minecraft Realms.
yeah.
Maybe we'll see.
I mean, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, like most of this time, I've just been fishing in Minecraft because, like, I don't, it's either like I can choose something to do in the background or I would be distracted.
Yeah.
Especially like last night, I got around about 6 hours of sleep, I think,
Mm.
because I've been staying up so late over the weekend, and then I had a, you know, oh poor me, awfully early 9:30 a.m. class, but
Yeah.
still one earlier than I've been getting up.
Mm.
Um, but yeah,
All
I've
right.
been fishing a lot, and
A good thing.
it's worked out well for this time as well. So
Well, I think this has been an episode of Skyline, and I'm going to stop recording now. Thank you all for listening. Bye.